Hey everybody, it's Jim Palmer, the Newsletter Guru, with some very, very exciting news about a video that you are going to love, a video that will quite possibly transform your business. Last Thursday, I had the pleasure of interviewing the CEO of one of the fastest growing companies in the United States. The CEO is my longtime friend and business partner, Bobby DeRocco, and Bobby's company made the Inc. 500 this year, which is quite an honor and very exciting. I actually announced last week that I would go out and record about a 35 to 40-minute interview, and I would break it into my usual 7 to 10-minute segments for Newsletter Guru TV, and it would be a series that would roll out over the coming 3 to 4 weeks. Something very special and actually magical happened. Bobby and I both saw the edited video earlier this morning. We both jumped on the phone and said, "This is too powerful. This is too good to hold for 3 to 4 weeks. We should release it all at one time." And so what we're going to do, on my end anyway, this episode of the Inc. 500, the extended interview, is going to be this week's episode of Put the Hammer Down for Maximum Growth. This 35-minute, 40-minute interview, Bobby originally told me he'd have 8 nuggets. Well, here's what happened. 2 entrepreneurs got in the room. Bobby's had explosive growth. Last year, I doubled the size of my company. This year, I'm up 25%. All this is happening in a very down economy. So what happened is when we got in the room and we started going, the scripts went out the window, and we chatted. And when we saw the edited video, there, I think the last count was 27 or 28 actual business building nuggets that you can use. What Bobby and I decided is we are going to ask you a favor. We're going to release this interview in its entirety right now. You're about to see it, but we're going to ask you a favor. We both know several entrepreneurs and small business owners that aren't doing quite well in this economy, but this video, the ideas that we shared in this video can absolutely help them grow. We want to ask you a favor. Would you help us make this video go viral? You are part of probably Facebook groups or Twitter groups. You're probably part of some business associations. Maybe you're part of a chamber of commerce. You in some way are connected with other business owners, other entrepreneurs. We would like it very much if you would share this video. So if you're watching it on Facebook, you can hit the share button. If you're watching the interview on Newsletter Guru TV, hit the share button and share it on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Basically, we know that small business owners are the engine that's going to drive this economy out of the ditch. Small business owners are the people who create the jobs, all right? So please help us. You're going to love this interview. What I want you to do is get a pad and paper and get ready, because you are going to see and you're going to hear about some amazing business growth strategies that will absolutely work in your business. All right? Help us make this video go viral. And now here comes the edited version, what's already the new episode of Newsletter Guru TV, and this is actually episode 3 of Put the Hammer Down for Maximum Growth. This is Jim Palmer, and I hope you enjoy the video. Take care, everybody. Welcome to Newsletter Guru TV, your show with a boatload of smart marketing and business building advice, and a little fun along the way.
This episode of Newsletter Guru TV is brought to you by No Hassle Newsletters, the secret to getting boatloads of more profitable repeat business and the customer referrals you deserve.
Hey everybody, it's Jim Palmer coming to you from beautiful Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, the home of the Amish and these beautiful rolling countrysides and farms and horses and buggies. It's also the home of Synapse Marketing Solutions, the company founded and CEO'd by my good buddy Bobby DeRocco. He just made the Inc. 500, and we're going to go do a very special interview with Bobby. Bobby's company's grown an amazing 853%, and I'm going to ask him to share with all of the entrepreneurs and small business owners that watch Newsletter Guru TV exactly how he did that. There's going to be several nuggets you're going to be able to pull out of this interview. Let's go to Bobby's office. Come on. Which is all about client retention, which you focus on a lot. And by the way, I got to share an inside baseball thing. You know, Bobby prints all my books, so when he got a hold of Stick Like Glue and it came out, he said, "Jim, how much are you going to charge me? I want to make sure all my employees get a copy and read it," right?
We did. We did. We sent it around. We made sure that anyone who works face-to-face with our clients, and that's not just our account management group, that's anyone in our company, has to understand you know, how a client thinks, what they want to hear, what they don't want to hear, and all those techniques to make them stick with us. And so that's been really important. there's three ways to grow a company, in my opinion. We can keep the clients we have and keep them really happy. We can go find more clients to serve, and we can develop more streams of revenue to flow into the bucket.
With the existing clients.
With the existing clients. And it's been very interesting because we always focused on keeping our core clients happy as the initial tactic to grow in the business. We never said that it's okay if this client is unhappy with our services or if we haven't been able to deliver, because there's already another client that's out there waiting for us. Our job was to keep all of our current clients protected and happy and with Synapse.
Right.
And then we could add on to it over and over again. We never wanted to have that sort of perpetual hamster wheel that we're just running around in circles.
Right, and the strategy there is, and sometimes when you tell people it sounds nefarious, but it's not. Everybody watching this should do the same, is you want to maximize the profit potential of each customer you get. Because, what I talk about all the time is it always starts with a single transaction. But sometimes people, the old movie where I think it's where they're selling aluminum siding, they go ring the bell, I got a new client. No, all they have is an initial transaction.
That's right.
And, one of the reasons back in the very first early days, Bobby would go out and meet with a big company, and he told me he'd come back with an order for business cards, which probably ends up costing you money in the long run. But some of those orders for business cards developed into very large clients because, first of all, the world-class service, and second of all, he started telling them what else they do. And so it all starts with the initial transaction, but it's maximizing the profitability of the relationships, which helps a company grow and be profitable.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the keys to our success has always been just give us a shot. We'd always add value before a client actually hired us to do anything. And we've taken projects that have been a couple $100s and grown them into, multiple $100,000 or $1 million accounts. That's been one of the strategies, is just let us prove ourselves, and then obviously we need to be able to deliver on the other side.
Good. Now, we just probably took about 10 minutes on Nugget 1, so all right, let's go to Nugget number 2.
The second thing that that I know has grown Synapse to become one of the fastest growing companies in the country has really been that we got away from what we called knowledge silos. And when I started the company, I was essentially kind of the rainmaker, as you say, if you want to call me that. And then I had a lot of support staff around me, and they sort of just waited for my directive. They were sort of like assistants,
Right.
But every client, no matter how big or small of a project they wanted to do with us, came to me. They only had, it was Synapse, yes, but it was really Bobby. And we identified that as a potential problem down the line, because I could only do the best things for the company in a very limited amount of time.
Right.
So what we did over time is we really focused on building a team that was process driven. And so we got information out of these knowledge silos. And what I mean by that is we had certain people on the team that had specific knowledge. It wasn't written down, it was just in their head. And it wasn't put into a process. And so what happened is they had to share that knowledge each and every time a new team member came on board, and then we had to rely on that person to remember that knowledge just verbally.
Yeah.
And so what we started doing is we started creating a set of systems and processes so that when a client had a particular challenge or an issue, when there was a pricing concern, when there was a service issue, they knew, every employee knew how to deal with that, and it was all based on my beliefs and opinions about how I wanted to serve the client. So we really took what my beliefs were and we put them into process, and that was very important.
That's, I'll keep my comments brief, but that's really important. Processes and, methods of doing business is important.
Definitely.
And, one of the smart things Bobby recognized earlier is the company shouldn't be Bobby, it should be the company. That's because one of the things I think most business owners want to do is eventually create an asset that they cash out.
Correct.
And go sit on the beach or go sit in the
Absolutely.
boat, whatever they want to do. So it's really important as you build your business to make sure you're focused on the business and not you. So
that's right. It's very important because I wanted to create an asset for the long term, and that was critical in that, getting that away from me. My goal was when I was 32, I actually said, okay, in 3 years, when I turn 35, my goal is to be able to step away from the business for 90 days. And when I come back, I want the business, number one, to have its doors continue
Still
to be
open.
The second or the third thing that I learned in sort of the difficult way was to learn from our mistakes and to use those mistakes to build a better company. You know, in the beginning of when I started Synapse, I was very scared to make mistakes. I wanted everything to go perfect all the time. And actually what I learned over the years is if I can speed up the mistake-making process and make the mistakes more quickly and learn from them, we can teach the team much more quickly on how to overcome those difficult challenges.
That's huge right there.
Yeah.
Speed up the mistake-making process because in the end, it's going to end up making you more money.
That's right. I mean, eventually you make all the mistakes, and it's not just making a mistake, but then learning from that mistake and then changing your process so that you catch the mistake ahead of time. And we call that putting a fail-safe in place. It's just part of the process that we modify to go, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. Now it did happen. Thankfully, it happened and it only cost us this amount of money, but what if it would be 10 times that size? So let's put a double check in place. Let's put another set of eyes in place. Let's take that totally out of the process so it doesn't happen again.
There's a process that I use. I've used it for many, many years, but I learned it back in the franchise businesses. When we were creating a new product or a new service or whatever it is, and it was all ready to go, formulated, ready to pull the trigger, I'd stop and I'd get everybody together and say, what is the possible things that can go wrong from this point forward? And we'd actually mastermind and brainstorm the possible things, and we'd actually find little fallacies in what we've already done, and we'd go back and fix those, and then we'd launch. And sure enough, there's still something, but you get it. The whole idea is you get it as good as can be, and you launch it, and then you correct your course as you go.
It's a great point, because I think as most entrepreneurs are like me, they're optimistic, and I know you're the same way. And so you tend not to focus on the things that could go wrong. And so anytime I make a decision, or we try to add a new product or service, or we take a new way to do something, we always run it by a very wide array of people within our office and say, you know, what do you think of this? And we have folks that are more realistic or pessimistic even, and they'll point out different kind of holes in our strategy.
Right.
And so we make adjustments if we need be. But as an entrepreneur, I never listen to people who say it won't work. I just take their advice and maybe modify my original plan.
Awesome. All right, nugget 4.
I can tell you a couple of other things along that same line. Is that when we do make a mistake, we have something called the 10-year mindset. And so we look at a client and we say, all right, we're in this situation, it's a gray area, our client could have done something differently, we could have done something differently, or both of us could have done something differently to actually make the outcome a little different in the project. But we tend to err on our side and say, okay, Synapse is going to take the responsibility for this mistake. You've hired us to be the experts. Now we're going to go ahead and make it right, because we know that we can recoup the cost of that mistake much better if we have that client for the next 10 years rather than the next 10 months.
Right.
So we understand that very, very well.
I call that short-term profit hit for long-term wealth creation.
That's exactly. I mean, I couldn't have explained it any better. So there is a difference between making an error and being careless. And I do want to caution all entrepreneurs out there, Jim, that you really have to, even if you have a great employee, it's your friend, it's your neighbor, it's someone who has really done a great job in the past for you. If they're making mistakes, it's okay. It just means that they're probably pushing very, very hard to get to that next level.
And in all candor, we have had a couple things over 9 years. Every relationship and partnership does. But you know what happens is when you get on the phone, this is where email must get shut down, because you know words in an email just can be written. So anyway, we get on the phone and we talk about it. Sometimes we come face to face in a restaurant. We talk about it. We always go away feeling better and recognized. So it's really communication when that happens.
Absolutely.
So if you make a mistake as a business owner, get on the phone or go face to face with your customer and just talk about what happened. And more than likely, it's like a broken bone. It'll heal stronger than if it never happened, actually.
I mean, the times I was most worried about picking up that phone or sitting next to my client and saying, hey, we screwed up, or here's how we can fix it, they've actually come back and say, you know, your integrity is top notch. We knew you'd come through. You're an absolute professional. Thank you for fixing and making it right. I think so many customers today are so used to being left